There's a moment, early in life, when you realize that the word forever doesn't always mean what it promises. That the people who hold your name in their mouths don't always hold your heart in their hands. I was adopted when I was 4 old, enough to remember my mother's voice, but not old enough to understand why she couldn't keep me. They told me it was for the best, that I should be grateful, that I was chosen. But even then, something inside me whispered otherwise. Chosen implies desire. And I didn't feel like someone they wanted, I felt like someone they took. I used to stare at the adoption papers framed on the wall like some kind of trophy. My new last name written in bold letters, as if that alone could erase the past. But names are just labels. They don't heal wounds. They don't stitch together broken histories. What they do is rewrite the story in someone else's handwriting. You grow up learning how to perform gratitude, smiling at family photos, nodding through holiday dinners, pretending that love is something you can earn through obedience. But deep down, there's this quiet ache, a hollow echo that says, you were given away, not lost, not abandoned, given, as if it was a gift, as if you had a say. People talk about adoption like it's a fairy tale ending, a rescue from something worse. But no one tells you what happens after the rescue. No one prepares you for the guilt of missing someone you weren't allowed to keep, or the shame of feeling ungrateful when your adoptive parents gave you everything. How do you explain that having things isn't the same as having roots? That food in your belly and clothes on your back don't fill the hole where belonging should live. I remember once in middle school, we did an ancestry project. Everyone traced their lineage with excitement: German, Irish, Mexican, Italian. When it was my turn, I stared at the blank sheet in front of me and lied. Made up a heritage I thought sounded strong, because the truth was too heavy to carry into that classroom. The truth was, I didn't know where I came from. I didn't have grandparents to interview or recipes passed down through generations. All I had were questions that no one wanted to answer. Adopted, but not chosen. That's the paradox that lives in your bones. You learn to smile through it, to laugh at the jokes people make about being lucky. But every time someone says, blood isn't everything, you flinch. Because blood is everything. Blood remembers. Blood carries stories you'll never hear. Blood ties you to a history that was taken before you could even form words to ask for it back. There's a loneliness that comes with being raised without your first family. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind. The kind that hides behind success, behind smiles, behind well-adjusted behavior. People see the surface and think you're fine, but underneath, you're searching, always searching, for a face in a crowd that might resemble yours, for a voice that sounds like yours used to before it changed, for a place where you fit without explanation. And sometimes, the people who raised you don't understand that need. They mistake it for betrayal, as if wanting to know where you come from means you don't love them. But it's not about rejection, it's about integration. It's about wanting to stand whole in your own skin instead of split between two worlds that never fully belonged to you. I spent years trying to figure out why I wasn't enough. Why I had to be handed off like a book someone borrowed and returned. Why no one fought harder to keep me. And somewhere along the way, I started believing that I was unkeepable. That maybe there was something wrong with me. Something unlovable. That belief carved itself into my spine and lived there like a second skeleton. But here's the thing about growing up without your original family. You become intimately familiar with loss. And in that familiarity, you learn resilience. You learn how to survive silence. How to build yourself from scraps. How to find light in places others overlook because you've known darkness so intimately. It becomes part of your compass. There's a strength that comes from surviving childhood without certainty. From waking up every day and choosing to believe. You deserve joy, even when the world keeps reminding you that you were left behind. You become fluent in emotional survival. You learn how to sit with pain without letting it consume you. You become a keeper of your own story, even when parts of it are missing. I used to think healing meant finding my birth parents. That if I could just meet them, talk to them, hear their side, it would fix the ache inside me. But the truth is more complicated than that. Sometimes reunion brings closure. Sometimes it opens new wounds. Either way, it doesn't erase the past. It only adds another layer to it. What I've learned is that healing isn't about rewriting history. It's about reclaiming your narrative. It's about naming your pain instead of burying it. It's about recognizing that being given up doesn't mean you were unwanted. It means someone was hurting so deeply they couldn't hold on to love, even the kind that looked like you. You start to understand that your worth has never been tied to someone else's ability to parent. That your value isn't measured by whether or not someone chose to raise you. That you are not defined by absence. You are shaped by it, yes, but not owned by it. And slowly, you begin to rebuild. You create your own rituals of belonging. You find people who see you not just your story, but your soul. You learn how to mother yourself, how to father yourself, how to be the safe place you never had. There's power in that, in realizing that you don't need permission to heal, that your journey is valid, even if no one understands it, that your grief is real, even if it doesn't look like anyone else's, that your voice matters, even if it shakes when you use it. Being adopted but not chosen leaves scars, but scars are proof of survival, proof that you lived through something hard and still stood back up, still walked forward, still dared to hope. So if you're sitting there tonight, wondering if you matter, if your story counts, if your pain is real, let me tell you this: it does. You do. You are not less because you were loved differently. You are not broken because you were raised apart. You are not unchosen because someone couldn't choose you. You are here, breathing, surviving, speaking, creating, healing. That is not weakness. That is warrior work. And even if no one ever says it out loud, you were seen. You were held, even in the gaps. You were carried, even when it felt like you were falling. Because the truth is, you were always chosen by life itself, by breath, by the stubborn will to keep going, even when the world didn't offer you soft landings. So keep going, keep speaking, keep writing your story in whatever way you can, because the world needs to hear it, because other hearts are listening, because healing ripples outward, even when we don't see it. And someday, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, you'll look in the mirror and recognize yourself, not just as a child of loss, but as a person of depth, of resilience, of beauty forged through fire. You were adopted, but not chosen, and somehow, that made you stronger.